Testing, testing. Hi, everyone. We are now going to make smothered collard greens. So to make smothered collard greens, we're going to flavor some water with some turkey wings that have been smoked, as well as some spices. We're going to start with an onion, though. So I only need a quarter of an onion. And since I only need a quarter, I'm just going to quarter it. So I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to cut it again. I'm going to peel the skin and take off that frilly end. So keep this part intact and take off this end. And then I'm just going to dice it a little bit. And throw that away. So now I'm going to gather my onions and put them in my stock pot that has about 3 cups of water. I'm also going to add 2 cloves of garlic that are just crushed. We don't need to chop them, so I just push down and then take off the skin, and I'm going to add that into the pot as well. And then I have about 4 ounces of a turkey wing, a smoked turkey wing. That's going to give the water a lot of good flavor. I'm going to add some cayenne pepper, a little bit of cloves, and then thyme. And then the last thing we're going to add is ginger, ground ginger. And then we're also going to add a green onion. And for this green onion or scallion, you can just roughly chop it. Again, just providing more flavor. And a chili pepper. I'm using a jalapeno. Feel free to use anything that you want. So I'm going to cut off the end, put my fingers around the outside, and then chop through the middle. And then give it a rough chop. Remember, if you chop a chili pepper, go wash your hands. That way you don't touch your eyes and make it feel all hot after a while. So now I'm going to come over here. And so we've got this nice pot full of flavor. I haven't added any salt. The only salt content in this right now would be from the smoked turkey. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and we're going to talk about the greens that we're going to be working with. In the store, you can sometimes find collard greens already chopped or kale chopped, quite a lot of greens already chopped. I want to show you what happens when you buy them pre-chopped. Of course, I can't open the bag. All right. So when you buy collard greens already chopped or kale or things like that, you usually end up with large pieces of stem. There's nothing wrong with it, but it can kind of get in the way. You want something nice and soft. And so I like to buy the collard greens, kale, or mustard greens whole, and then remove the stem and save the stem for something else. You could make a pesto out of the stems, or you can even just chop them up really finely and put them in another soup or stew. I will use some of this today because 2 pounds of greens can be quite a lot. So when we say 2 pounds of greens, I want you to realize we're asking you to purchase them with the stems. Again, the stems still have a lot of nutrients, so don't throw them away. Repurpose. All right, so let's go back to talking about the collard greens really quick. So we're gonna actually take the stems off. So I'm gonna pull at the leaves. So kind of grab them together and then pull away at the stem. Save the stems, remember, use them for a stalk even. A veggie stalk would be good. Kale's a great one too. So you can almost just go down and pull. And it's kind of like strip it off of its stem. And then take each piece and then you can just roughly kind of use your hands and tear them apart into bite-sized pieces. We're gonna cook this for about 40 minutes, and so it will cook down. You remember have you ever seen spinach, like a handful of spinach will actually cook down to probably a quarter, maybe even just a couple tablespoons. So this is collards, and so we're gonna also do the same with the collards. The red one was a Swiss chard. You can use turnip greens too. So this is a large, large leaf. And so when the leaves are large like that, you really don't want the stem inside just because it can get kind of tough when you chew on it. But the longer you cook it, the less chewy it gets, I guess. All right. So now I'm gonna go in. This is about 2 pounds, a little shy of 2 pounds even. And I'm gonna come over to my pot and I'm just gonna start adding all my greens in. This is a great way to incorporate your family into cooking, I guess is the best way to say it. Kids love helping in the kitchen, and this is something that's safe, fun, and exposing them to greens, things that they might not eat that much of. If they cook it, they might have a better tendency or desire to want to actually eat it. So again, I'm just roughly going in there and getting water all over the place. And then I'm going to bring everything up to a boil. And as I said, as this cooks, it will go down. And if you get a few stems in there, there's nothing wrong with that. To help with the speed of this, what you can do is put a lid on the pot to help it cook down. So I'm going to go get a lid and I'll see you in 40 minutes. Actually, I apologize. I will not see you in 40 minutes. I'll actually only see you in about 20 to 30 minutes. It doesn't take that long. So 20 to 30 minutes, not 40. See you in a bit. Testing. All right. So now, while we're waiting for our collard greens to finish, I'm going to show you a quick buttermilk ranch dressing. Ranch dressing is one of those things that we find in the store pre-packaged for us, and we often want to just grab it. But when you look at the ingredients in the back, it can be pretty scary, including the excess amount of salt, sugar sometimes, as well as additives to make it a certain consistency. So let's talk about a way to make our own buttermilk dressing at home. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add sour cream and yogurt. So the question is, what is the difference between sour cream and yogurt? Well, sour cream is a fermented cream, but it's been pasteurized, meaning it's been heated. All those probiotics that you get from yogurt are then killed, or sour cream. So the difference between sour cream and yogurt is that the sour cream has actually been heated up, and so you kill all those healthy cultures that might have been used to make it. Yogurt, on the other hand, isn't, and so all of those nice bacteria is still in there. So we're going to do an addition of both. I challenge you going forward, if you see a recipe that has sour cream, try using fat-free or low-fat Greek yogurt, which ends up being very similar in consistency. So the other thing we're going to add now is mayonnaise. There's a lot of great mayonnaise substitutes out there now, And one of them you can actually make on your own, and you can use tofu. Now we're going to flavor this. And so we want buttermilk ranch dressing flavor. So what would those be? Garlic and onion powders. And then dried chives and parsley. You can use fresh. And so the comparison or the way that you figure that out is it's a 3-to-1. Fresh herbs are not as strong as dried herbs. So you want to use 3 times as much fresh as dry. So we're using dry, so we only need a little bit. And then a little bit of white vinegar or apple cider vinegar, whatever you have lying around. And now we're going to go in and give this a good whisk. This isn't buttermilk ranch dressing just yet. The one thing we're missing is buttermilk. So I'm going to add about a cup of buttermilk in there. And you can adjust the consistency of this dressing based on how much buttermilk you add. So you can make it thinner or thicker and use it as you need. So this will stay in the refrigerator for about 5 days, 3 to 5 days. And you can use it as a dip, as a dressing, a salad dressing, really anything else you want. So we are going to add a little bit of pepper too. And before you add your salt, remember, taste it just to see how it tastes. So I'm actually not going to add any right now because I don't think it needs it with the sour cream and the mayonnaise, because the mayonnaise does have a little bit of salt too. Now to taste this, I don't want you using your finger or licking the spatula. Use what you're going to use for your ranch dressing. So if it's going to be on a salad, take a piece of lettuce, dip it in, and then taste it to see if it's the right consistency, flavor, saltiness for you. I don't want you using it off of your finger because that's not how you're going to eat it. So again, if you are going to see if this is salty enough for you, use whatever vessel you're going to be eating it on to make sure that it tastes right. All right, to the next dish. Alrighty. Let's make some minestrone soup. So minestrone soup is a great way to get a lot of vegetables into your diet. So we're going to be working with a few things today. And we're going to start with green onions. So the green onion has 2 different parts, the white part and the light green and the green. Sorry, that's 3 parts, not 2. What I want you to just think of is that as soon as you see color, that stuff is going to be lighter in flavor than the white stuff. So we're going to cook the white parts of the scallion or green onion first. So I took the bottoms off and I'm going to stack them all together and I'm going to claw it and then I'm going to slice. This will be added at the end as a garnish. So you can put it on top of your soup. You can really do anything you want with it at the end because it's not going to give much flavor if you saute it. Okay. Use the back of your knife to scrape so you don't dull it. Now I'm going to take the whites now, stack them up, and slice as well. Always remembering that the hand that isn't holding the knife should be a claw. That way you don't have any fingers sticking out that you could potentially slice. And that's it. So we're going to use as much of the white as possible. And there we go. So it's separated. Now, what else goes in here? I have edamame, but you would be using peas. So like a green of some kind. Artichoke hearts, which you can chop up a little bit. You can use frozen ones. You can use canned ones. I have marinated ones, and I still rinse them off a little bit, but I kept them whole. So it's really up to you if you want them chopped up. We have a little pesto to finish everything off. Some small pasta, chickpeas, canned tomatoes, diced canned tomatoes, and they don't have to be fire roasted. I just like the flavor of that. And 1 zucchini. So the last thing we're going to have to chop is our zucchini. I'm going to take off both ends. And I'm going to cut through the middle. And I'm just going to quarter it. Stack my quarters up and give it a good slice. Now remember, the smaller you chop it, the faster it's going to cook. So if you want to cook this on the stove for a long time, make them large pieces. Don't make them so small. All right. I'm going to take my zucchini and keep it in a bowl because I'm going to add it a little bit later. So let's get cooking. I'm going to add, I have a pot here, and I'm going to add, oh, I forgot the most important part of the recipe, the garlic. So I have 4 cloves of garlic too. So I'm going to give them a good push. Okay. Take off the skin on the outside. Now, here's the thing with garlic. The more you chop it, the more flavor you're going to get out of it. So if you don't like the flavor of garlic and a recipe calls for it, instead of mincing it, slice it. If you love the flavor of garlic, use a garlic press. And after using the garlic press, I would say don't saute your garlic until the very, very, very end. And that way you preserve the flavor of the garlic as opposed to letting it kind of blend in with everything else. But again, this is if you like the flavor of garlic. All right, so let's get cooking now. So I have my pot ready. It's on high. I'm going to give it a good swirl. That's about it, though, not too much. And then I'm going to add the whites of my green onion or scallion, just like that. And then I'm going to add my garlic, as well as my zucchini. And I'm just going to saute that for about a minute. Not too long. Now that I have some good color on here, I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. So I'm going to add some stock, and you can use vegetable stock, chicken stock, anything you have on hand. My canned tomatoes, my artichoke hearts, my chickpeas, and I'm just going to let that cook for a little bit. And we'll be right back. So the soup has been simmering for about 10 minutes now. I'm going to take off the lid, and I'm going to add the rest of my ingredients. So what would those be? Got my peas / edamame, because that's what I have today. I'm going to add my pasta, my little baby pasta. And you don't have to use small pasta. You could even use elbow macaroni. Orzo is a great one too. And then I have some baby spinach. Now, in your recipe, it does say to cut your baby spinach or kale or anything into small strips. It doesn't specifically say baby spinach. And so with baby spinach, I like to add it in whole. But if you want, go ahead and make small slices out of it. And so it spreads throughout the soup a little bit more. I like it this way, though. So again, up to you. So I'm going to add my greens. That's why I love having baby spinach lying around the house, because it's something that we can add into almost anything that you're cooking. Just need a handful of it and it will flavor everything up for you. So the chicken stock that I used today, we didn't add any salt into. It's homemade. And so where's our salt coming from on this dish? Canned tomatoes is a great one that you're going to get, obviously. Your artichoke hearts, if they were marinated, probably have them. And then this is what we're going to add to kind of season it, give it an umami flavor or give it a bomb. The tomatoes are already going to give you a lot of that umami flavor, which reduces the need for salt. But we're going to also add some pesto in. So you can use homemade pesto or you can use store-bought pesto. But this just adds another layer of flavor to make the dish amazing. So now the spinach is in. I literally am just cooking it so that the spinach wilts. And then you can add your scallions on top, or green onions, scallions on top of this, or you can do it per bowl. And that is it for the minestrone soup. Now we're going to make some Southern banana pudding. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some ice cold fat-free milk. We're going to do 3.5 cups of this. And then we're going to add 2 packages of the small sugar-free vanilla pudding mix. So just sprinkle that on top. And give it a good whisk. So grab a whisk. And I want you to whisk this for at least 2 minutes. All right. So watch me whisk. And you can whisk along, fast forward, or do what you want. But I'm going to do this for at least 2 minutes to make sure that all that mixture is dissolved into the milk. So 2-minute timer. Here we go. Actually, a minute now. It's a workout. But as you do this, what you'll notice is it gets thicker and thicker because the milk is cold and it's picking up on everything else that's inside, including gelatin, anything else that's making this thick. We've got about 30 seconds left, if I can get there. This is when you have boys in the house, girls in the house that are young teens, can maybe help you do this. But I am almost there. I can feel the consistency. I can feel how thick it is. And again, make sure your milk is cold when you do this. Okay, I think we're there. Nice. Now I'm going to keep that whisk in there, and then I'm going to let this sit for 5 minutes. Now, what'll happen is it'll kind of gel up even more and be more pudding-like. And so we'll wait 5 minutes, but while we're waiting, let's get our tray ready. So I've got a large, like an 8x8 or 9x9 dish. You just want something that can hold at least 8 cups. And I have some wafers Sugar-free if you can find them, fat-free too if you can. And I'm gonna layer them on the bottom of this dish. You can go around the edges too. Just like that. All right. And now that's done, I'm going to actually take a little bit of milk. So we saved a little bit, about a quarter cup of the milk, and we're just going to gently drizzle it. Just kind of like soften some of these pieces of milk. Or I mean, soften some of these pieces of wafer. It just starts it going. You don't, so that it doesn't clump or have areas that are too hard. We're just softening everything up right now, or at least starting the process. And the reason why you don't want to just pour it in there is because remember, you do have these ones on the sides, and these are the ones that are going to end up being crunchy if you don't put enough of the milk on top of it. Not that there's anything wrong. If somebody likes it crunchy, you can have it crunchy. Okay. And now we need some bananas. So I'm going to put this to the side, push this to the side gently. And I've got 2 bananas. They don't have to be ripe. It can be whatever consistency you like your bananas at. Then we're going to peel and slice. And now we're going to start layering soon. So we're probably about 2 minutes shy, so we'll be right back. So it's been about 5 minutes now. And so I'm going to take my pudding mixture that is solid as a rock almost. And I've got 1 cup of fat-free frozen whipped topping. And I'm going to fold that in. So this is a technique, and I need you to watch carefully because this will make or break your dish kind of. So what I want you to do is go around the bottom and outside of the pudding and cut through the middle. So again, rotate the bowl, cut through the middle. Rotate the bowl, cut through the middle. So you're just going to keep going on the side of the bowl and rotating and cutting through the middle. Why do I want you to be careful? Because that whip has air inside of it. And the more you do this, the more you're going to deflate it, and it's going to end up tasting not weird, but just of pudding. And it's not going to be light and fluffy. So the reason we're adding it is to make it nice, light, and fluffy, and not just a pudding. So now I've gotten most of it incorporated. A few little streaks of it is not going to hurt. I'd rather see those streaks than not, because that means I didn't overwork this then. And let's start assembling. So the way that we're going to assemble this is we're going to add gently, pour some of the pudding on the bottom. And spread. So the more you add right now, the better it is, because then you're not going to pick up on all those wafers. And that was also why we added some of the milk to those wafers to help it stick to the bottom. So I'm going to do a little bit more. just like that. And then I'm going to put my bananas on top. Your recipe has you putting your bananas on top of the wafers. It's really up to you. Because then what I like to do is add a few more wafers on top of this in between almost the bananas. And if you want these to be softened, they will be softened over time. But if you want to eat this quickly or whatever, you could add a little bit more milk on top of these wafers. Again, up to you. And then I'm going to add more of the pudding. The rest of it, actually. So this dish really depends on what kind of container you're using and how you want to do it. You could even make individual portions of this if you wanted. This is just easier because then you can just serve it out of here. But if you want, you could make little individual ones for each person and use 2 or 4 wafers for each. I'm going to top this with bananas because I like it that way. But again, you can alternate your banana and wafers based on what you like. All right, and now just finish everything off. We've got 1 more cup of whipped topping that we're going to spread throughout the top. And you could dollop this. Again, there's no way that you can really mess up something that tastes this good at the end of the day. This does need to be refrigerated for about 3 hours so that it can really firm up so that you can go in and kind of cut and serve it. Now, if you did make them into individual ones, they would not take that long to chill. So it'd probably only take about an hour. Do not put this in your freezer thinking that it'll be faster that way. It will take some time. Don't force it. And I'm just trying to do this so that every part of it gets a little bit of that whipped topping white. So there's that consistent color throughout. And there you are. What's really fun is when you tilt it. Oh, can you see? No, not yet. But there you are. And you've got a beautiful layers that you can't see right now, but that's all right. We're going to just check on our collard greens really, really quickly. So our collard greens have been cooking now for quite a while. So let's take off the lid and just see what they look like. Amazing. So we've got these nice collard greens ready to go. You can serve them with any meal. And think, we only use 3 cups of liquid, but even with that, just 3 cups, it's still in there. And the reason why is because we kept a lid on it and we kept it at a simmer. So as long as you keep it on a simmer and you don't rush it, you'll have beautiful smothered collard greens. Thank you, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.